Not long ago, I was a first-time manager just like you. I've learned a lot over the years, and I want to share with you some of the most important things that I've learned about leadership. These tips will help make your transition into management easier and help you become a more successful leader faster. Welcome to the channel, Leadership with Mike. On this channel, I help you become a more confident leader, and I do this with no nonsense sense, if that makes any sense. So, you've been promoted into a managerial position and you're ready to lead your team to success. Congratulations. However, as exciting as it may be, being a first-time manager can also be overwhelming, to say the least. Now, you're responsible for not only your work, but you're also responsible for the work of your team. Don't panic. We will get into these survival tips right now. First, every person on your team is unique with their own set of skills, experiences, and personalities. As a leader, it's your job to identify these differences and use them to your advantage. By understanding each team member's strengths and weaknesses, you can delegate tasks more effectively, provide targeted feedback, and create a more harmonious work environment. But understanding your team is not a one-time task. It's an ongoing process that requires communication, observation, and empathy. Take the time to get to know your team members, listen to their concerns and feedback, and be open to learning from them as well. By doing this, you'll not only become a better leader, but you're also going to be fostering a more productive and a more positive work environment. As a leader, it's your job to communicate your vision, your goals, and your expectations clearly to your team. This means outlining the specific tasks, responsibilities, and deadlines for each team member. Make sure that everyone knows exactly what is expected of them, and be sure to listen to their feedback and their concerns. But here's the kicker. Setting expectations is not enough. You also need to hold your team accountable for meeting those expectations. This means, unfortunately, setting consequences for missed deadlines or subpar work. Now, it may sound harsh, but it's necessary if you want your team to succeed. On the flip side, you also want to make sure that as part of setting expectations, make sure they know how you are going to celebrate their wins. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's coming up. Accountability also means leading by example. So if you expect your team to meet deadlines, then you need to meet your deadlines as well. If you expect your team to communicate effectively, then you need to do the same. Remember, your team is watching you. They're watching your every move. So make sure you're setting a positive example. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Mike, holding my team accountable, that sounds scary. What if they don't like me anymore? Let me tell you this. Being a leader is not a popularity contest. Your job is to help your team grow and succeed, even if that means having tough conversations or making unpopular decisions. But there's a silver lining. Holding your team accountable will actually help you build trust and respect with them. When you follow through on your expectations and you hold your team accountable, they will see you as reliable and trustworthy. They will appreciate your honesty and know that you have their best interests at heart. As a leader, you are in a position of power and influence. Your team looks to you for guidance, direction, and inspiration. That's why it's so important to lead by example. You cannot expect your team to follow your lead if you're not setting a good example yourself. So what does being a role model look like in practice? It starts with being consistent. If you expect your team to arrive on time and to meet deadlines, then you need to do the same. If you want your team to communicate effectively and collaborate, then you need to do the same. Your team is always watching. So make sure you're leading by example in every aspect of your work. Another important aspect of being a role model is demonstrating good ethics and values. You want your team to trust you, to feel proud to work with you, to work for you. That means being honest, transparent, and ethical in everything you do. If you make a mistake, you need to own up to it. and use it as a teaching moment for your team. Show them that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you take responsibility for them and learn from them. Now, being a role model does not mean that you have to be perfect. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But it does mean being aware of your actions and the impact they have on your team. If you're not sure how your actions are being perceived, ask for feedback, talk to your team, listen to their concerns, and be open to making change if necessary. Now, let's be real with each other here. Your greatest asset is your team. They're the ones on the front lines doing the hard work day in and day out. And they're the ones full of great ideas and creative solutions that can help your team succeed. That's why it is important to tap into that creative potential and foster an environment that encourages ideas and innovation. Now, how can we do that? It starts with creating an open and inclusive culture where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas. Make it clear that you value input from all team members, regardless of their position or experience level. Set up brainstorming sessions or team building activities that aren't cheesy, but that encourage collaboration and creativity. Another important aspect of fostering creativity within your team is giving them the freedom to experiment and take risks. Encourage your team to try new things. Don't be afraid for them to take chances. Even if an idea doesn't necessarily pan out the way you hoped, it can still be a valuable learning experience. Now, as a manager, it's also very important to provide the resources and the support your team needs to be creative and innovative. Make sure that they have the tools, the training, and the resources they need to bring their ideas to life. Be open to investing in new technology or training programs that can help your team stay ahead of the curve. Being a manager means juggling a lot of responsibilities. The thing is, you simply can't do it all alone. That's why one of the crucial tips for first-time managers is that you have to be able to delegate tasks effectively. Now, I know what you're thinking. Again, delegate, but no one can do it as well as I can do it. And that might be true to some extent, but you can't be everywhere at once and you can't do everything yourself. You need to trust your team and delegate tasks to them effectively. That means assigning tasks based on, as we talked before, individual strengths, skill sets, and interests. Delegating tasks effectively is all about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your team members. You want to assign a task to a person who is best suited to handle them. For example, if you have a team member who's great at analyzing data, not this guy, but give them the data-heavy project. If you have someone who's great at communicating with clients, give them a client-facing project. By delegating tasks effectively, you're not only playing to your team's strengths, but you're also giving them opportunities to develop new skills. Another important aspect of delegation is setting clear expectations, making sure that your team knows what's expected of them, what the deadline is, what the resources are that they have available. Communicate these expectations clearly and be available to answer any questions that they may have along the way. By doing this, you'll ensure that everyone is on the same page and working towards the same goal. Now, just to be clear, delegation does not mean dumping all the responsibilities onto your team and kicking your feet up. I've worked with managers like that. Here's the thing. You're still the manager. You're still responsible for the overall success of the team. So make sure you're checking in regularly and providing support and guidance where needed. I'm sure you know this, but leading a team is not always rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes they go sideways. That's okay. The key is to stay positive even when the going gets tough. As a manager, you're in a unique position to set the tone for your team. If you're positive and optimistic, chances are your team will be too. But if you're negative and pessimistic, I promise you, that negativity will spread like wildfire. So even if things are not going perfectly, It's important to maintain a positive attitude. Staying positive doesn't mean ignoring the problem or pretending that everything is fine. It's about focusing on solutions instead of dwelling on the problem, taking a step back, assessing the situation, and coming up with a plan to move forward. By focusing on the solutions, you'll not only find a way to overcome the problem, but you'll also show your team that there is always a positive way to move forward. Another aspect of staying positive is to keep things in perspective. Yes, things might be going wrong right now, but it's not the end of the world. Remind yourself and your team that setbacks are temporary and that you'll come out of this on the other side stronger and more resilient. Staying positive means being a source of motivation and encouragement for your team. Acknowledge their hard work, celebrate the successes, and provide constructive feedback when needed. By doing this, you're going to create a culture of positivity, teamwork, and growth. Something that you will be proud of. Leading a team can be tough, but there's nothing quite like the feeling of achieving a common goal. That's why one of the crucial tips for first-time managers is that we need to celebrate successes together. Celebrating success doesn't mean that you're throwing a huge party or you're buying everyone rounds of drinks. I mean, that's not a horrible idea, but it's more about acknowledging and recognizing the hard work, the dedication that went into achieving the success. Whether it's meeting a deadline, exceeding a sales target, or launching a new product, take the time to celebrate with your team. Celebrating successes together not only boosts morale and motivation, but it also reinforces the sense of unity and teamwork. Notice I didn't say a sense of family because that's a different video, but it shows your team that their hard work is valued and appreciated and that you're all in it together. It also creates a positive and supportive work environment, which can lead to even greater success. As a first-time manager, these 7 tips are key to remember if you want to become an effective leader. Whether it's building trust with your team, overcoming inevitable challenges, or finding ways to stay organized, implementing these tactics will help set you and your team up for success. Don't feel like you need to have this leadership thing all figured out on your own. To dive deep into a few more high-value tips and tricks, watch this video here because that's exactly what we talk about. So get your coffee. I'll see you there. Ciao.